Hey Browns fans, Nathan Zagura and the Hoff, Joe Thomas. Taking inside the film room, it's another edition of X's and Joe's presented by Microsoft Surface. And Hoff, we're going to take a look at Jerome Ford's touchdown run against the Cincinnati Bengals, the 4-yarder, and this is just classic zone blocking, a nice double team. You're going to see why Wyatt Teller's been to the Pro Bowl 3 times with his ability to get on that double team, get to the second level, and then Jerome Ford does a good job hitting the hole. Let's take a look at it from behind now as we see this from the end zone view here, Hoff. 2 tight ends to the left. And then you've got, but kind of with a little bit of a gap here, right? So they're out over this man here. They're going to double team him. And you're showing, typically from this formation, inside zone, right? Coming across the quarterback here. Now, you could run a counter, but typically that's going to come across the quarterback, and that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah, the most basic play that you run here is just that inside zone because the back's offset. But if you're going to run an inside zone here, it's going to come down to the blocking that you have up front. Can you get movement on the first down lineman past the center? Who's the guy who's lined up in the right A gap over Ethan Posick? And Wyatt Teller does a fantastic job getting his feet in the ground. Second step, you make contact with that defensive tackle. You're getting vertical push right off the bat, but you're not losing eyes on that linebacker because as soon as 59 comes down to fill the B gap, Wyatt's got to have his feet and his hands and his eyes in place to be able to come off on this linebacker, make contact with him on their side of the football, and then try to gain a little bit of ground and push that man into the end zone. Because if he's able to leave and keep the line of scrimmage clean, that gives Jerome Ford the ability to come downhill, just like he does here, attack the line of scrimmage, and that's going to force the Bengals safety number 22 and number 29 to suck up into the line of scrimmage because they have to fill the gaps that are voided right now based on where the blocking is. And because Jerome attacks the line of scrimmage, it gives him an ability to either jump cut and hit in the backside C gap, or like he does here, he can jump and to the right side, sneak through that little gap between the right guard and the right tackle, which is completely free because they've got nobody else filling with the safeties on the backside, and a great block on the front side by Jack Conklin, keeping that line of scrimmage clean, creating space in that gap, and then Wyatt Teller finishing, getting Jerome in the end zone.
As you look at it from now, you're seeing it from the Cincinnati point of view. You get that double team here. He's going to come off Jack Conklin, by the way, dealing with little illegal hands to the face, it appears to me right there, Hoff, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, because now the officials are behind the offensive line, they don't really see that all that much, especially compared to where they used to have an official right behind the nose guard, essentially on the defensive side, where they could see a lot more of those hands to the face. But where they are right now, they ain't going to ever see that.
It looks like he's setting him up for a choke slam. Now, Hoff, here's something. You mentioned Geno Stone. He's the one guy that really has a chance to get over here and make this play, but when Jerome Ford, as you mentioned, gets so close to the line, he loses vision. Right here, look at where his eyes are. His eyes are here. He even hops a little bit to the right there before going back to the left. He's like, oh, wait, where's the ball? He's not even sure if DTR's got it. He has no idea. And by that, too late, touchdown for the Cleveland Browns. And a nice job here. We'll give Jerry Jeudy a little credit because he held Mike Hilton off there. He was somebody who could have maybe gotten around and made that play, and he's in for the touchdown. And then that's what we call right there. That's the big man celebration right here. We get Jack Conklin said, yeah, you had your hand in my face. Okay, a little hump. And then here we go. Wyatt Teller pumping it up there for the Cleveland Browns. Just a little wider angle here, Hoff.
Yep, absolutely. You can see how everything's working on the outside, right? You got man-to-man coverage on the outside, number 21, the nickel corner there. He's playing inside leverage in case Jerry Jeudy runs a slant or tries to beat him to the inside. But Jeudy wisely does a great job trying to get his helmet to the inside of that slot defender because the ball usually doesn't bounce out to the play side on inside zone. But if it does, you've got to be ready. So that's the discipline that you have to have when you're blocking at receiver, to always try to find your leverage to be able to get your helmet on the right side of the defender for the rare instance when it does bounce out here so that your nickel defender has no chance to be able to come in and make a play.
All right, so that was the Browns. Unfortunately, Hoff, the Browns' lone touchdown in the game against Cincinnati. This is an offense that needs to get some things going. Now, it's not going to be easy against Miami, top 10 in the league in scoring defense and total defense. What does this offense have to do in the home finale to get some more points on the board? That's back-to-back games with just one touchdown. And in the last 11 quarters, the Browns have scored just 20 points.
Well, it starts with the quarterback, right? We're not sure if DTR is going to play. We think he will, but for him, he needs to be able to push the ball down the field, stretch the defense a little bit, make them defend some of those deeper throws, and that will open up some of the mid-range throws, and then hopefully a little opportunity to run the football, because Miami's front, like you mentioned, they're really good front. They're going to be really tough to run on, but if you're able to get a few throws down the field, establish a little bit of a running game, then that will help DTR with some of the play action, some of the boots, some of the extended plays that really puts him into his best version of himself, which is getting out the pocket, using his legs to convert a little bit of running, but then also get outside the pocket, find somebody, give him some time to get open, and then throw the ball deep down the field.
Hoff, when you have a four-man front, as we saw here from Cincinnati, it's easier. The double teams kind of set themselves up, and you always have 5 for 4. But when you're going to get Miami, and Anthony Weaver, who was the defensive line coach here during your time with the Cleveland Browns, then was the defensive line coach in Baltimore, he's brought a lot of those concepts. So you're going to get that 5-man front. Why does that make it, other than the numbers, why does that make it so much harder to get the ground game going, especially when you think about outside zone type concepts?
Anthony Weaver, great coach, played against him actually when he was in the NFL as well. But the challenge is, because instead of just having 4 big hog mollies with big booties out there that you got to move, now they got 5, right? Because they're basically playing 5 big defensive linemen up front, and you don't get those double team blocks that you do when you have only 4 defensive linemen, right? Because of the numbers, right? If they've got 4 defensive linemen, you're usually getting a double team like we saw against the Bengals, where you got that double team between your center and your right guard. But a lot of times, if they're playing a 5-man front, you're going to have your tight end either block one-on-one on the backside against the big guy, or you're going to have to just block man on man, my 5 offensive linemen on your 5 defensive linemen. And one-on-ones, that's not what you want on the offensive line, because a one-on-one block is set up for the defense to win, because they can do whatever they want. They can grab you, they can throw you to the ground. They have different rules that they have to play by than an offensive line. That's why getting a double team is so important. But that means they got less guys in the middle of their defense and then less guys in coverage when they do play a 5-man front the way they do. So you have opportunities to take advantage of them different ways when you do see a 5-down front versus this 4-down front that the Bengals were playing.
Well, hopefully the Browns can get it together. The final home game of the year, the final game of the calendar year here in 2024. For the great Hoff, Joe Thomas, Nathan Zegura, thanking you for joining us in the film room for another edition of X's and Joe's presented by Microsoft Surface.